Good afternoon, beloved soul family, beautiful people. Thank you for tuning in. My heart hurts for anyone in this space currently that doesn't have this awareness of what's really desired from a mind's perspective. And so I felt as though it is time for me to express this from the depths of my own experience, and from the understanding of the higher perception from mind that I have received through different channels and infinite stream of consciousness. And it's a piece that is challenging, and currently we are in some pretty chaotic energies. There are some very contrasting things, especially within the polarization of the very light feminine and the very dark masculine, at the full extreme poles that you could possibly think of. So when you look at the extreme pole of the light feminine in its unintegrated, that is the wounded child, the innocent child, the purity that is what you would call vulnerable or victim to the experience. And then you have the dark masculine energy, which is the destruction. It is the death or the demonic energies. It is the it is the energy that completely lacks any compassion. And what's happening is we are flipping between them internally, but then we are also experiencing them in our external relationships. And so when we are in such extreme polarities, what happens to the physical body when we have a lot of extreme polarities is that the body and the mind become heavy. So I myself would say at this point I would be in a version of suicide or death, desire for death. Now, the understanding of this for me is I've come to a completely new perspective of awareness of what this actually is, which is the desire for a part of the identity to die. It's a part of the self to die, in a fact that the attachment to it can no longer hold on because the vibrational frequency is wanting to change. So it's something that has to die for you to continue on. And these moments is often spoken about in people's different spiritual journeys and awakenings. Is how many people have you heard that desired to kill themselves and tried to commit suicide and had an extreme breakthrough in spiritual awakening where their entire body was purified and they've been like the phoenix from the ashes? Is because what happens is the mind doesn't understand it when it's in that much separation or trigger. When we're in the trigger, when we're in the death, we want to die. And it feels very real. And the heaviness in the body, the heaviness in the mind, the not being able to see a different way is overwhelming, and it is dark, and you can't see because it is dark. It is the darkness. The darkness is lack of information. So when you're in a place of complete despair to the point that the only way out is death, in any lens of looking at this, it's because there's not light to what needs to be transmuted and rebirthed. Suicide is a rebirth in any perspective and any time, and anyone who hasn't said or hasn't experienced suicidal thoughts is in a sense of delusion with themselves, because we're constantly rebirthing. And so it's the intensity of the void. And when you're in these moments, so I currently am in one. I was actually just down the chemist getting Epsom salts, and am about to go and be in my death process, in my bath, where I'm leaning into the die. Like this is what has to take place, is it's what wants to die. What is the shadow? What do I need to look at inside of myself that hurts so much? What is the denial piece? What is the fear story? What is the terror? What is the attachment style? Right? So the archetype that is playing out, what current archetype are you sitting in that is keeping you separate from your heart center and yourself? What is that archetype? And in that archetype, so I can use me and Raya, and I know Raya would be open to sharing this, is Raya's sitting in his wounded child, and I'm sitting in the destroyer prosecutor. So when you have a relationship where you're hitting each other, he's in his very light feminine, and I'm in my very dark masculine, and we're triggering each other into these intense amounts of emotion, where it gets to a point where you're like, I don't fucking want to feel this way anymore. Like, this has to fucking die, because it's controlling my life. It's controlling my experience. It's not allowing me to see another way. It's taking over me. So what do I have to see about it? What about the wounded child? Does Raya have to witness about his wounded child, his inner child work, or a moment that he was victimized? What is it that he has to lean into in his internal body? Is it the terror? Is it the fear? Is it something like, is it a specific memory that needs to be brought to the surface to be looked at and transmuted? And then for me, what part of my dark masculine, which has been one of the energies my entire life that I'm like, dark masculine energy to me has been, I've sat in my light feminine most of my life until my awakening. And so I was the empath, wounded child victim, and the men that I was in relationship was the dark masculine narcissist. And now I'm sitting in this and I'm like, I don't want to be this. It's so destructive. And from my cognitive mind, from my knowing of a higher truth that we are all things, and that we have to experience all things and recognize them and bring them into an alchemy and alchemize them into a higher truth, into a higher frequency, into a higher vibration, so we can open all of our channels, all of our chakras. That takes the death and rebirth process. Every single chakra of mine that has transmuted has required death and life. The void, going into the void, going into the things that you either attach to or pull away, and going into sitting and leaning into fear or terror or death, right? It's like, how many of us have actually sat in and leaned into the killing energy? I know I haven't. That's one area that I'm saying, and I'm going to call myself out in this truth on this space, is because I can't transcend my personality whilst I'm still in this resistance to even allowing that to be a part of me. It's like, no, I am not a killer. I'm a lover. I'm a healer. That's what I do. I hold people's hearts. But can you see there's a polarity shift? There's a division, there's separation. If I'm a healer, and if I'm a divine feminine essence that holds people's hearts until they remember and they love, but I'm not willing to be the goddess of war and destruction and fucking death, then I'm not able to alchemize and come into more inner union within myself. So wherever this part of me is, it's desiring death. Now, the challenge that we have is when these intense emotions come up, right? So at the moment, this intense emotion in my body is in my third eye, it's in my crown, it's in my, I actually feel like very sick. I feel like there's vomit right here. It's like, ugh, bleh, you know, like I actually am doing that because there's so much energy here that's like wanting to be transmuted. I want to spew it up. That's the purging. It's like, get it out of me. You have to lean in and alchemize it out. So speak it out, sound it out, cry it out. There's a very different piece when we transmute by expression. And we know this. We talk about these things every day in spirituality and personal development. Speaking something out gives it power, right? So if there's a part of you internally here that's like, oh, hang on, let me find something that's real. Okay, something that's real inside of me right now, which is if I can identify it inside of me and I think it in my head, it doesn't have the same level of transmutation, processing, and ability as if I say it out loud to you. So I'm identifying the belief right now in my mind, that's sitting in my heart, and the belief I'm going to think it first is so I've thought it, right? Now, no emotional expression. There's nothing, you didn't really see anything in my body. I identified it. Now, I'm going to say it from my heart, from the word, from the expression, from the emotion, and you're going to see the difference of what happens when we allow the things that we don't share with people, the consciousness to actually express itself. When we allow the consciousness to express itself out, the energy transmutes. Because we're not pushing it away, we're not hiding it, we're actually allowing it to have a voice, which is a level of holding ourselves, a level of loving ourselves, a level of recognition of the shadow that is going unseen, that is constantly bringing us into separation. So that belief that I thought inside my head, it's quite interesting that it's just wanted to delete itself. And this is what happens when there's some really big stuff, is your mind goes into cognitive dissonance where you can't think properly, and there's a level of fatigue and tired, and this piece inside me, right here where my hand is on my heart, the belief that sits here is, I can't remember it. I'm gonna have to find it again. That's how much my brain doesn't want to say it out loud. It's I hate that everybody always wants something from me. Now, that's just one layer. That's one layer. As I thought it, nothing happened to my body. As I spoke it, you saw the energy come out of me. I can't do that to my body. My body does that for me. The body recognizes the thing. What needs to die? Okay, the belief, I hate that people always want something from me. Now it doesn't have that same power because I've released the excessive emotion. And then I lean in a bit deeper. What's underneath that? What's there? And if we're not aware of this, this is when the part that you didn't see before this process was that I had fallen asleep in the sun, and what I'd fallen asleep to had brought me, I can't get away from my processes anymore. I can't get away from truth. You know, my internal reality is trying to show me itself all the time. This is because the separation of my mind is becoming less. And so now when I go to sleep, sometimes I'm like in a process in my sleep, and I'm like, really? Do we have to do this? Can we have a break? Like, I would really like a break. But the separation, it's like, it's there. It's wanting to be seen. It's wanting to be alchemized. But I was tired. And I woke up from laying out in the sun hoping that I would wake up feeling more energized and sun charged. And instead I felt really, really, really exhausted. And I laid down inside, and in this numbness, this like sick, nausea feeling in my stomach, this heaviness, this part of my brain, which I've been in many times. So I know this. I know what my body's telling me. It's saying, lean into your shit, girlfriend. Because it's not going to go away. And it won't. It won't disappear. You can't spiritually bypass these things. They will show up. They will show up. They will show up until you're willing to go into it. You will get tireder. You will get heavier. You will create some physical pain. You will end up having a car accident, or someone in your life will die. Because you have to start to see these pieces, or your life becomes so much chaos to get you to move through them. And instead of seeing it's an internal piece, you make it about something that happened externally. And so I'm lying on my floor in this heaviness, and I'm like, I just don't want to get up. I don't want to do this process. I don't have the energy for it. I've been in processes for like 3 weeks straight. You know, I've been in this for 3 weeks straight, like nonstop. I'm tired. And you know what? When you're a channel and you now have access to infinite consciousness, you don't even get to run away from it. The higher guidance is, when you think you can't lean in anymore, lean in a little deeper. And that's where the transition point is to remembrance of your connection with Creator. And it's like, oh, go away. I don't want to hear that, right? My personality doesn't want to hear that. My ego wants to lay in pity. My ego wants to stay in a place of, I don't have any more energy. I can't do anymore. I can't be anymore. That's what wants to be there. My personality is like, this is fucked. Like, no more. Who chose to take the red pill? Right? That is the truth of what was there. And it's in that moment. It's in those moments of, yeah, okay, what warrior spirit do I actually have? I have enough warrior spirit to get myself up, to go make a cup of coffee, and to go and get some Epsom salts and make myself a bath so I can go into what's here and alchemize it and see it. Because when we do choose to lean into the death process, into the stuff, into the ick, like the mud, the things that no one says these things out loud. People don't say this stuff. It's the one thing that I hear so often in the mentoring that I do is, oh, you really do have the capacity to hold me in all of my stuff without shaming me and making me feel guilty. Because we've all done it, whether we're aware of it or not. You have been the killer. You have been the rapist. You have been the murderer. You have been the failure. You have been the one on the front line of the army. You have been the seductress that eats men alive, right? There's all these different things that we have been. And we actually play them out in our internal reality all the time as well, in subtleties. It's like these archetypes are always here. You know, maybe you're not seeing yourself in the war destructor, but it's there. It will be there in little stabs, little pokes, little moments where you go into some level of projection. Little moments where you think something about someone when you see them on social media. Little moments when your partner pisses you off, and instead of seeing what's really alive inside of you, you project it out onto them. And it's the same energy. It doesn't matter if it's this much or if it's this much. You're still in separation from yourself and from your connection to God. And the only way to feel your life force or choose life is to look at what you want to die and why you want to die. And that's challenging, and it takes courage, and it takes creating the space, and you don't actually even need to know how to do it. You don't need to know how to hold space for yourself. You just need to choose to have the willingness to try. The courage to go, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with me inside here. I don't even know what this means. You know, and have that emotion, have that fear, have that terror. Your body Your consciousness will show you if you're willing. Not distract. Not make yourself so busy. Not go and do things for others and become the healer to avoid your own internal healing. Make the space. That's it. Create a space. Whatever safe space you need. For me, it's been many bath processes, you know. I didn't get to this point that I can help people transmute terror and go into the depths of their internal demons by learning it any other way other than meeting myself in my own. And understanding what that shows and what's on the other side, right? Because when you're really willing to go into that depth, create that space for that darkness, that stuff we run from, there's magic, literal magic on the other side. And I mean magical frequencies, magical codes, magical gifts. Memory comes up from your cells and alchemizes back into your DNA. And you feel completely different. It may take you 3 hours to be in the muck. It may take you 2 weeks. It's not really true though. When you create the space, I can guarantee you that the majority of you, if you set a safe space up with some music, some candles, whatever it is, I used to set it up with pillow borders on my bed. And I have a layer of pillows at the front and a layer of pillows at the back, and I would go into whatever had to be felt. I didn't know what I was feeling. I just knew that my life was turning into fuckery. And if I didn't look at it, I was going to get the Mack truck. And I don't choose that anymore. I don't want any more Mack trucks. They hurt. I'd rather look at it before that pain, before it affects others. So in this moment of where I'm expressing from, I am in my muck. I am in my unintegrated dark masculine, whilst also trying to be in some level of heart-centered connection. And if we allow ourselves to be seen in these moments and express, we give this opportunity for others to remember. In these challenging times where this darkness is thick, it is dense, make the space. Set a timer, I reckon. I'd love some comments at the end once you've done it. If it takes you longer than 2 hours, I'll be surprised. Because if you really create the space to breathe into your heart, to breathe into your stomach, your womb, to breathe into your root, to breathe right down into your feet, and to feel what's there, it wants to move. It wants to die. I love you. I will see you on the other side.